it's been a couple years. It's Romania Black, and it's been a long ass wait, let me tell you. So, the last movie or OVA of Given that I've reacted to came out 2 years ago. What? And then I have been, Given is one of the very first series that I reacted to on this channel. I'm Romania Black, if you don't know me and you're watching this video. But yeah, Given was one of the first series I reacted to on the channel. I've been reading the manga and following it ever since, and I've been reacting to it. And sometimes being a reactor is hard when you have to wait on series that you really want to react to. And I have been patiently waiting for the Hiiragi mix movie for a couple years now. I'm also waiting currently. They started the sequel manga, Kizu did, and so I have reacted to the first 2 chapters of it. I'm waiting for chapters 3, 3.5, and 4 to be completely translated so I can do 2 chapters at a time. It's been a long time, but I'm very close. I've been told by Woosh and Sweebian on Patreon that they have chapters 3 and 3.5 translated. We're just waiting on chapter 4. So I'm like, but it's a long time waiting for Given reactions, and that's a damn shame because this series is amazing. I love Given. I have read a lot of BL, and I'm still reading BL on this channel, and I would say Given is one of the best ones around. You cannot beat it in terms of realistic couples, of couples that feel nuanced, that feel three-dimensional, they feel lived in, their love feels earned. They take toxic tropes and find ways to make them realistic and answer them and yet still be anti-cliche, and it's just a damn good series, and Kizu is so good. So I've been waiting on this one for a while because I'm not gonna lie, I've got my little calendar here, my little Given calendar that I got here going on, and I don't know if you noticed, but Hiiragi, that is the center point of this movie, and I share a birthday. Our birthdays are both May 8th. We are both Tauruses. We share a birthday. And so I feel it's extra special to be looking at the Hiiragi movie with you all. And thus I had to put on my Given shirt. I had to get my lovely yellow coffee mug in honor of Hiiragi and to sit down with you all. And honestly, I wanted to get to this movie. I thought it would be 2025 when I got to it. I was like, oh, it's going to be next year. But the streaming service that I'm watching this on, they don't see the need to market anything. They're just like, oh, here it is. And you're like, we've been waiting for how many years, and you just drop it and you don't have any shred of marketing or preface or like, hey, here's a countdown. It's coming out in a day. No. What? So I'm not going to complain, but I actually had another recording that was going to go in this time slot for this week, and it was going to be a Trigun reaction to the manga, but the manga volume is late, and I was like, dang, I'm not going to have anything to react to this week. That kind of sucks. And then this just dropped into my lap, and I was like, well, it's a Christmas miracle, so... So I'm so excited. It's an hour and 10 minutes. I'll take it. I think the last full-length movie was like an hour long, so we get 10 extra minutes. I'm going to be honest with you all. I have intentionally not gone back and reread the manga. I mean, I know there's another movie that's coming out right now that will probably not be on the streaming service until the summer, which is fine. We can have 2025, the year of Given. Let's go. So I'm okay with that. But I purposefully did not reread the manga up until this point. I know that where we last left off, in the last movie, we had Haruki and Akihiko have their relationship explored along with Ugetsu. And then in the OVA, we had, Mafiu and Ueneyama having their sleepover, and Ueneyama get reminded of Yuki. And so I think I know what this movie is going to cover, and I know the big highlights, but I don't exactly know where it starts. And so I want to make sure that I don't go ahead and reveal that, and we'll just let the reaction do it for itself. So I'm super excited, y'all, but I want to thank you all so much for being patient with me. I know that Given is one of the first series that I reacted to on this channel. It's a series that I hold very dear to my heart. I love it. I have back on this shelf here an entire shelf of Given back there. It's very near and dear to me, and I love these guys so much. And I've been very patiently avoiding spoilers and very patiently waiting. And now I'm like, now I get to reap my rewards. So I'm excited to sit down and talk with you all about it and see what we get. So thank you all so much on Patreon and for YouTube for being so patient with me. I'm so glad you're here watching this series with me. But obviously, we're going to have to do these headphones because Aniplex is just like, I want them to let this stay online. So, but there will be a full PIP reaction down below if you want to watch that. That's perfectly fine. Anyway, oh my gosh, y'all. I'm so excited. I can't tell you, I'm so excited. It's almost frustrating. So I'm going to make sure that I've got this turned down just a little bit because these headphones are actually quite loud. I got my subtitles on and we are going to start giving, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this. The movie Hiiragi mix. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. My dog's barking. I'm like, Hiiragi's more of a cat guy, so. Come on, Blue Links. You're giving us all the quality, BL. Let's go. Oh, hello, Lurch. Lots of people behind this one. Get you that sponsorship, Kizu. It feels so good to hear them play again. It feels so good, Mafia, tuning the guitar. It feels so good. It feels so good to be back. I just want to wait Yama just sitting there like. Oh, he's going to go meet him, isn't he? Yeah. Oh, fun, fancy meeting you here, except now he's got his guitar and you've got your guitar. I love that no one ever takes these steps. This is like the yaoi hallway. Nobody goes down it. They just glance from afar. Just put like a little cup at the bottom of the stairs to collect their change. Aww. Our boy is so sweet. Ah. Oh, what are you blushing for, Wainiyama? What are you blushing for, sir? Studio time. Yes. We can go on a date. Yes. We can make out. They're so chaste. This pairing, like Mafia and Wainiyama, are so chaste, so pure. They definitely have the soulmate vibe. Oh, what a tease! What a tease! Oh, Shizu, baby Shizu! Oh, it was like such a song. Oh my God, there's Yuki and Mafia. Oh. Yeah, you're displaying psychopathic tendencies. No, joking. Oh, this little sad kid. Oh, little baby Hiiragi. Oh. It's like just them. Everybody else disappears. It's just them. Oh. Oh. Oh, and there they are now. Oh, I love Hiragi's hair growing out. It feels very Kinma. Only he's the opposite of Kinma. And Shizu is the opposite of Kuro. Wait, you all just walking real quick down that hallway. Mafia's like, you look real good taking that trash out. Oh. Oh, are they looking for Wainiyama? What are you guys doing here? A little brother. Oh my god, these two. I love Hiiragi style. Ah! Oh my god. She's like, I'm avoiding this. Oh. Yes! Oh, all smug as his boyfriend! Oh my god. Stop fighting! Ah! Bye. Viscerally incompatible! I mean, like repels like. Oh my god. Ah! The two of them! When we're good, we're really good. But when we're bad, we're horrible. Oh, well. About that. Yeah. I love the geometric shaped triangles. Oh. Oh, I can't wait to hear them. Yeah, they did this contest. I knew we were gonna win! Ah. Oh. And you got the call. And Shizu's just sitting there. 2 shows, maybe. Sure, Jan. Uh-huh. Oh. Ah, they're going back there! Yeah! Oh my god! About that. I mean, what I said back there wasn't wrong, but... Ooh. Shizu. Because of Mafiu. Oh, yeah! Oh, he sounds so good! I love Shizu on the drums. Oh! 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 Oh my god. Oh! Oh, it sounded so good! His voice was beautiful! It's so good! Oh! Oh! I'm gonna go play that again. Oh. Is he gonna ask him to take the picture or be in it? Oh! Aw! Yeah, where's Take? He looks like a Pomeranian! I love that Take and her are going out. That's so cute. Haruki. Aww. What a sweetheart. Yeah. Everybody's doing their own thing. Oh. Oh, Shizu. He's like, I don't want to be around that cat. Don't you worry. Oh my god. Got the charm. Yes. What about that? Yes. Yes. Ah! Ah! The meteor! Oh my god, Wait Yama's reactions! Ah! Aww! Yes! I love how much more mature Wayne Yama looks in this. Oh. I mean, you were shouting it, yes. Oh, of course, the boyfriends will go talk to the boyfriends. Yeah. Hiragi's little face like... Aww. Yeah, right? But now it's here. Oh, Shizu's voice is like so deep. I'm like, yes, please. I'd be like, I'm coming. Oh. Oh. He's like, no, I pretty much forged my own path ahead, and I got Shizu, so you should be happier, dude. Oh. Look at him. I love it. Mafuse, is he going to have any emotional response, or is he going to be like, eh? Oh. I was like that echo. Who, me? Possibly? Like he's sweating? Oh, come on. Oh. 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 He's a baby deer, Wainiyama. He's an Aquarius. You can't just sneak this on him. Oh, those guys were like, sorry, man. That's rough, buddy. Oh. Poor Wainiyama. Uh. 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 Oh my God. Oh, his eyes are so green. Oh. Ooh. Ooh, that let. Oh. I love that there's like a cinch. Oh, well, yeah. Mm. They're like so sensual, the two of them, without even trying. Oh. Oh, do you realize? Oh my God. He's such a grumpy bug. Yes, he always looks like that, but. Mm. Hiiragi, do you realize how tied Shizu is to you? He's like a white knight. Oh. 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 Shut up. Shut up. The Taurus in me is like, yes, oh my God. Oh. Oh, sweetheart. Oh, sweetheart. Ah! I mean, of course you do. Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. He's so antisocial, but I love him so much. Oh. Oh. Uh-huh. Yes! Especially his voice. Ah! Right in the middle of it. Oh. Oh my God. Oh my God. Poor Winiyama. Oh my God. Ah! Don't. First of all. No. Ah, yes, there we go. Right. Yes, there you go. No, Shizu gave you great advice there. Hmm. Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh. 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 Mm-hmm. His old boyfriend. Yeah, his ex. Barely. Ooh. Well, they were together. Mm. Wow. Oh. I mean, right, that makes sense. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Mm. And it would feel weird. Oh. Oh, well, that's an interesting compliment, but oh. Mm. Oh. Yeah. Mm. And you're the new boyfriend, so oh. Yeah. Uh, I mean, has he? If you can't do it. Wenayama was very different from Yuki. Very, very, very different. Yeah, I can understand why he wouldn't because this is such a weird place to be in. Yeah. Oh. Oh. Oh, that's done so good. Mm. Oh. Oof. Mm. Oh. Ooh. Uh, right then and there. Oh, and don't tell him about it. Oh. Ah! Like, will this suffice? Oh my god, his little affection, his little sign of affection. Be like, look, I'm not mad at you. Just like, oh, Shizu, you are too smooth. That was ridiculous. Our little space cadet. Oh, that's pretty. Ooh, I love the lighting of this. Mm. Aw. Shizu is surprisingly considerate of such a lot of things and doesn't show it. Hmm. Ah, and I was like, okay. Ooh. Hmm. Yeah. Oh. Oh. He's like, I'm not indirect kissing you. Mm. Oh, wow. Oh. Oh. Damn. Oh. Oh. I feel like he admired Yuki. Idolized him, yeah. Hmm. And he still admires him. Mm. The three of them. Oh, yeah. With him at the center. Oh. Oh, Shizu. Oh, wow. Oh. If you're not down, if you're not in it to win it, then don't waste his time. Oh. Mm-hmm. And dazzling. Oh. 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 They're such opposites, but so beautiful. And the shadows and the light. Oh. 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 I love it. You're not Shizu. You're not. Ah! Oh my god. Oh my god. The two of them own his drum. This place is cursed. Oh, shut up. Shut up. Oh. Oh, shut up. So you two can see the fireworks? Yeah, so kind of like calling back to the last movie. Uh-huh. Yep. Yep. Call right back. Oh. Oh. Ah! He's like, I'm. Oh! Oh. The clock. Mm. Uh. She's like, okay. Bye. Aww. Oh my god. Have you slept? Oh, yeah, you're not their school. Oh. Oh. Ooh. Ah! Yes, but also no. Mm. Mm. Right, you can kind of. Yes. You've got to finish the painting. Like restoring paintings, yeah. Mm. Yep. Mm. Ooh. Which is the weird part of it all. He is a softie, yes. Yeah. Oh. I'd rip it to shreds! Ah! The Yuri be a lot shorter than this. Mm-hmm. It'd be hellish. Wayne can handle hell, though. He's a softie. He's a sweetheart. He's a pure soul. He can walk through fires of hell and back. Why not? Mm-hmm. Ah. Mm. Yeah, you didn't want to think about him. Yeah. Oh! Oh! Like when he's loud, it's like, oh! Yes, exactly! Oh, it is. Oh. Oh. Well, but all the time. Mm. Oh, he just goes and sits down. He doesn't want to be left out like he was in the past with the three of them. Oh. Oh. Yeah. Uh. She's just sitting there. Aw. How is he so good at the drums? Oh, well, there could be other reasons he's great with his wrists. He's open-minded. Oh. Yeah, Hiiragi does. Dazzling. Shizu's like, I've been eating onigiri the whole time, so I'm fine. But he says agreed anyway. Ah. Ooh. Ha! Oh. Mm. Oh. Uh. Oh. Oh. Mafia, sweetheart. The babe. The baby deer's running away. Shizu knows that he doesn't mean anything by it, but. Mm. Poor sweetheart. Yeah. That insecurity sucks because I did invite you to come along, but you're just so anxious about it that you can't see it. Ugh. Uh. Oh, is Akihiko growing out his facial hair? Uh. Oh, like a little sick puppy showing up on the doorstep. Yeah. Oh. Ah! No, I mean other things too. Oh. Mm. Yeah. We're freaking hot. Hmm. Yeah, one sec. Listen. Ah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. And again, just like Shizu with Hiiragi, he feels that way with them. Yep. Hmm. Now that, yeah. Oh. Oh. Mm. But to take it a step further, that's a big commitment. Ah. Yeah. Hmm. I don't know about Hiiragi, but light types. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes. There you go. Oh. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, he's like, but you know. Oh, that little studio apartment. Oh my god. Ridiculous. And practicing his violin. I would stand there and watch and listen. Uh, well, uh, yeah. Mm. But no one's stolen me. Oh. Oh no. Oh. 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 Mm. Oh. Yeah. Well, oh. Yeah. Oh. Oh, sweetheart. Oh. Hiragi's like, you're taking this way more. Shizu! Oh my god. Hiragi's like, what? Oh my god. Oh. Shizu's like, you're overreacting. Pretty much. Because he's felt the same way. Oh. Oh. And the gold leaves everything. Oh. Oh, he's confronting him on this. Oh. Oh. Oh, he's finally letting it out. Yeah. Oh, just say it. Oh. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh. Oh my God, no, he's short circuiting. No, he's overthinking. Oh. 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 That's really sudden though. You gotta give him time to think about it. Yeah. You can't just spring stuff up like that on him. Well, he's the strong silent type. Mm. Mm. Yeah, but that doesn't mean he liked him like that. Oh. 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 Right, yes. Oh. Mm. And it being on the stage. Oh. And not be the participant. Oh. 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 Ah! Oh, he's so hot. Oh. Oh. Ah! It's the other one. Oh. Ah! He's like, son of a bitch. No, it's fine. Ah! Oh, yeah. You showed up to give us that in the midst of our sexy time? Right. Oh. Well, he went out and just said it directly. Mm. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's gonna be a lot happening. Wow. We just had Yuki and him on stage. Reel him in with music. Ah! Oh no! Who's made of mysteries? Ah! Aww. Bless his heart. Mm. It's a lot. Oh. Mm. Oh. God, he's like ripped. Yeah. Oh. What was the text? Was it just a group text? Mm. And the gold, everything's like gold in this, all of it. Oh. Hmm. Oh. Hmm. Oh. I love Shizu's green eyes. Mm. Oh. 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 Shizu's always been there. Mm-hmm. Oh. And he just likes you plain and simple. Oh. Yeah. Yes. You've liked him the same way. Oh, the old school futon. Correcting my memories. Wow. Uh huh. Mm. Oh. She's just like, what? Oh. Oh, did you now? Oh. Oh, I. Whoa. Oh. Oh, you phrased it like that, sir. Oh. 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 Oh, shit. dramatic! Ah! Why can't you ask normally? Oh my god! Ah! Ah! Oh my god! Ah! Yeah. I love the outfit that Hiiragi has on. It looks so good. Oh, nice! Oh, I love this. Ah! Oh, his voice is so good! Oh, I love it. Hiiragi looks so good in this. He looks so good. Ah! Oh. Oh. Yep. Oh my god. Ah! Mm. Oh. Oh, well, just to you. The stoplight. Yes. The Yowie stoplight. Oh. Yeah. Yes. Does it? No. Ooh. Oh. Mm. Oh my god! Yes, but no, no, he has the most sense of self. Yes, he is extreme. Yeah, holy shit. Damn. Oh, it's so weird to hear Yuki's voice. Oh. Oh. Poor Mafiu. He looked like the animation on him waking up was really good. Oh, sweetheart. That's where they're gonna leave us. Of course, that's where they're gonna leave us. Why am I not surprised? I'm not surprised. Oh! Hiragi's voice is so good. It sounds amazing. That love scene. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yes. I'm just like over the moon. This was so good, but it sucks that they leave it off at this point because then you're like, son of a bitch, we gotta wait to find out part 2 of this. I mean, I love this so much, but it's like, oh, I love the bridge on this. This is great. His voice is so beautiful. Oh, I love this song is also about him and Shizumi. I'm like, ah. Oh. Ah, it's so good. I love this song. It's great. Are we gonna get anything else at the end? Oh, that's gonna be the end. Oh my gosh. Oh, oh, it feels so good to be back. Oh, it feels so good to be back with Given. Oh, it is, the wait was worth it. I'm gonna rewatch that several times. So the thing about Given is that as of this moment, the one set of manga, the original manga, not the sequel manga, which I won't spoil you about. If you've not been reading the manga, you definitely should, but I won't spoil you about the sequel manga. But the OG manga has basically all of the remaining events supposedly are going to be covered in the movie that just came out in Japan that hopefully will be on streaming by summer. That's my hope. But this one, I've waited for so long because I love Hiragi's character so much. And this movie is setting up so many different things. And it's setting up things that I really love about anime, and especially BL anime, especially certain ones that are on the shelf and that shelf that I want to talk about with y'all real quick. But it's just, I think the one thing that I love about this adaptation is the Given manga. Kizu's artwork is incredible. Kizu's way of drawing emotion and expression, the little fine details. If you're not reading the Given manga and you enjoy the anime, please go support Kizu and check out the manga. I know it's online that you can buy. I know you can get English translations. There's lots of scans everywhere. Just support the official release any way that you can. I definitely will. I love the manga so much. The artwork is gorgeous. But one thing I love about this adaptation is it flows so well. It flows so well because they find a way. Blue Links does a really good job of just getting all the, because you know what? I remember waiting chapter to chapter for each of these chapters to come out in the manga, and the pacing is fine when you have a volume of it, but it's one of those mangas that if you're reading chapter to chapter, it can be torturous because you're just sitting there being like, but what's going to happen next? And Kizu always leaves on a cliffhanger, and so you're like, but what's going to happen next? Like, I know when they get chapters 3 and 4 of the sequel manga translated, it's going to torture me again because I'm going to be like, but what happens next? So it's so nice to see this in a nice, fluid format, because I remember when these chapters were coming out in the manga, I was sitting there going, oh my god, this is torture to wait month to month. And sometimes it was like 2 to 3 months in between chapters, because you'd have a chapter come out like 2 months in between, and then you have to wait for them to translate it in the fan translations, and you're just like, oh my god. Like, so this was amazing, just getting to see all these little moments. I will say, we'll talk about the 2 sensual scenes in this because I have very different views about them in comparison to their manga adaptations, or in their manga original source material versus the adaptations. But this movie is a lot of fun. I really think that they did it justice by as long as it is, because it kind of ends exactly where it needs to, because the next movie is all going to be about the resolution of the questions that get brought up in this movie. So I thought this movie did a good job of showing Hiiragi and Shizumi's story, as well as setting up the conflict between Mafiu and Ueniyama and the Given group, being like, what are we going to do? And what I was saying is this series touches on one of my favorite kind of times in anime coming of age stories, particularly in BL, which I know BL does a lot of it because it's about that uncertainty of the unknown. But it talks a lot about what do you do after high school, particularly if you're in a relationship with someone and if you're uncertain of the future. And we see these characters in this movie kind of discuss what their feelings are about that situation. Like, I love Daokyusei. Like, I have a whole shelf thing for Daokyusei up there, which means classmates. And Daokyusei is a BL. It's probably my favorite BL. Actually, I think Daokyusei is my favorite BL. I think Given's right up there with it. But I think if I had to choose, Given would be like my solid number 2, and Daokyusei is my solid number 1. I think that they're right there, hand in hand, shaking hands, as it were. But one thing I love about Daokyusei is that your main characters in that BL have a relationship, and then they graduate high school, and it's like, okay, well, what do we do now? And it's not always sunshine and roses. There's conflict, and there's decisions to make, and there's working through arguments and getting into fights and making up from those fights. And it just handles it in such a adult, smart, mature way, but is still romantic at the same time. And Given does a really good job with that as well. And we'll talk about the couples in Given, and where I stand with them. But I really love that this story is asking a lot of questions of, okay, well, what do we do after high school? How's this going to work? I also love that no one at this high school on this stairwell, they've just decided to give it to Mafiu and Ueniyama, and they'll just go find another way to go to class. In any other anime at a high school that I've seen, people are up and down them stairs all the time, but this corridor, it's either haunted or they're like, it's the BL corner and we're not going to touch it. This is like the one anime that's high school centered where no one is walking up and down them stairs. No one is there. Not a soul. Not a peep. There must be an elevator or something. But I'll be honest, of all the pairings in Given, of all the pairings, you have Akihiko and Haruki, you have Shizusumi and Hiragi, and then you have Mafiu and Ueniyama. And they're all very different types of love. I feel like with Haruki and Akihiko, they are the most mature couple, obviously, but they've also been through like the most kind of like rough patches. Like they're in their mid to late 20s. So they're in their mid 20s. So they've been through like toxic relationships. They've been through conflicts, scheduling with work. They've been through family drama. They've been through like, well, not really family drama, but just the idea of Akihiko like not having money and things like that. But they've been through adult situations that happen through relationships, and they've found ways to overcome them, and it's made them stronger as a couple. So now they're like in their mid 20s as a couple, and they're just, they figured things out, what works for them, and we'll talk about it later. But I really appreciate that about them. It resonates a lot with me as somebody in my 30s. It resonates a lot with me, their relationship. And I'm like, okay, you guys have been through some shit. You've gotten through the other side. Great. Then you have Hiragi and Shizuzumi in this relationship. Them and Ueniyama and Mafiu are like the two young couples, but they're so different, and that's what I love about them. And we'll talk about Shizuzumi and Hiragi here in a little bit, but Ueniyama and Mafiu, they kind of come across as, in some respects, they kind of seem the most vanilla out of everybody because Ueniyama is so innocent. He's so innocent. He doesn't think that he's innocent, but he's so innocent. And he's so stoic and like just very down to earth and like, well, this is what I think. But he's also a very innocent person who as of the start of the series, didn't really come out of the closet until he met Mafiu and found out that he loved him, right? Whereas Mafiu and some of these other characters are like, no, we're gay. And they're like totally fine with it. Ueniyama, like, he never has a moment where he struggles with it because his sister's pretty accepting of it, but he kind of just doesn't know what all to do. Like, him and Ueniyama have not had sex. They've just kissed. That's all they've done. And it's like, that's all that they really... The thing I do like about this series is that it does not approach relationships as a one-size-fits-all. And I mean that without the pun intended. But it treats the relationships not as well, this is how relationships work in a series, so this is what we have to do. No, they handle them in very different formats and very different ways. And that's how real life works. Not everybody is going to be in a relationship in the same capacity, doing the same things in the same order. That's not how relationships like that work. And so far, Ueniyama and Mafiu are very tame. They're just kissing. That's all there is to it. But here's the thing. What makes that work for them is that Ueniyama is so kind and understanding and patient because Mafiu's been through a lot. Mafiu's been through a lot. And not just him feeling like the sense of being left behind by his friend group, which we'll talk about in this movie, but his boyfriend, the love of his life, committed suicide. And he found him and has to deal with that. And they kind of, as much as they show us in this series, it really is understated. And what's kind of beautiful is watching Mafiu just go through that moment and work through it in this, because Mafiu is an Aquarius. My best friend's an Aquarius. I'm like, I know how this works. But Mafiu is very much like a little baby deer. Once you get Mafiu to come out of the woods and eat out of your hand, he's going to come back and it's going to be okay. But until he decides that, Mafiu's like, I want to make sure I'm making the right decision. I'm doing the right thing. So until I'm sure about what I want to do, and then once I've decided, I'm going to go 120% into it. But until I've made that decision, I'm going to keep all my options open and I'm going to back off because they don't want to make a decision that they'll regret. And once you realize that him and his boyfriend had this argument and it led his boyfriend to kill himself, you're kind of like, yeah, I can see why you'd be that way, because you're afraid that if you say something wrong, it's going to lead someone to make a bad decision that you're going to regret being a part of. And I'm sure that Mafiu knows that Ueniyama and the others would not get to that point that Yuki did. They wouldn't cross that line, as Hiiragi says, that Yuki decided to cross. But then you don't know, because Mafiu's like, I didn't see it coming. I didn't see Yuki going that route, and I thought everything was going to be fine. So now Mafiu's like, well, I didn't think that was how it was going to be. So now every decision I make, I have to make sure are things going to be all right on the other side. And so I know that reading the manga, again, why I liked watching this and seeing it all flow so well through the anime was reading the manga. It can be kind of frustrating to see Mafu be like, I don't know if I want to debut, bye, and being like, I don't know if I want to hang out with you, bye. But then when you see it in the anime format, you're like, no, that makes sense. He's not only seeing a repeat of what was happening with Yuki and Hiiragi and Shizu, he's seeing it with Uenoyama now, and he's worried that he's going to get left out and not be a part of it. One thing that I do appreciate as well that Kizu does is that Uenoyama is very different from Yuki. Very different from Yuki. Whereas Yuki was very boisterous and very overbearing and very possessive, to the point where it drove him crazy when Mafu turned him away. Uenoyama is not those things. And he's very empathetic and he's very emotional and he's very inclusive. And I feel like it helps because we know as the audience that Uenoyama is not going to treat Mafu the same way that Yuki did. But we know as the audience too that convincing Mafu of that is easier said than done, especially if you've gone through a traumatic incident like that. So I like that this series doesn't make it over melodramatic, the trauma, and over dramatize Mafu's anxiety and trauma. They treat it very seriously, and it comes across very well in this series. It's handled really well. So the story about Shizu, I will go back and forth with Mafu and Uenoyama and their whole thing, but the story of Shizu choosing the black piece of paper. And what I love too is that Shizu is such an interesting character. They could have made him just this very dry, just one note, stoic character that's just the opposite of Hiiragi. And that's what it is. Because you see Yuki and Hiiragi and Mafu. I don't remember Mafu and Yuki being in the manga in this scene, so it's cute seeing them in the background. I know they show up later in the flashback, but I love the idea that Shizu has always felt kind of left out because he's a foster kid and he's kind of moved from place to place, which I've been watching a lot of anime about foster kids. I don't know if you've watched Natsume's Book of Friends, so that adds a whole nother layer to see Shizu's character looking at it now. But Shizu choosing the black paper, it just felt like he was in the darkness. He was isolated. He didn't know what to do. He felt lonely. This kid is having an existential crisis at age 5. That's where Shizu's at. And the lady's like, well, are you sure you don't want a different color? And then Hiragi's like, here, you get the gold piece of paper. And so we'll go back to that. And then we immediately cut from that moment of Hiiragi giving him the gold piece and letting him have that and showing him that kindness to Shizu deciding in that moment, I'm going to follow you forever. You've shown me this kindness. You've got me for life. Done. And one thing I like is that, as Uenoyama says, Shizu's crazy, but in a good way. He is a very specific type of person. He knows what he wants. He makes his decision. He's able to sacrifice for that decision. He's molded over in his head and decided, yep, that's how it's going to be. And he just sticks to it and that's it. And there are people like that. And Uenoyama's like, I wish I could do what you do without hesitation. And I'm sure Shizu, like-minded, likewise, wishes that he could be a little bit more flexible, but that's just not how he is. He's like, nope, this is how I am. I'm straightforward. This is what I know. This is what I do. And that's all there is to it. Also, we're going to talk about it later, but Shizu's voice actor, y'all, that deep voice. Oh my God, that deep voice. No, that voice, I was done. Because we rarely hear him talk. And so when he started talking in this movie, I was like, we're going to get tickets. The one scene I did remember is the love scene, which we're going to talk about, the adaptation. But I was like, oh, we're going to get to hear this voice. Oh my God. I was like, oh, it was so good. I was like, oh, I'll go back and watch that scene over and over again and pause it. But yeah, so Shizu deciding that, nope, Hiiragi is the one for me. And that's the way it's going to work. And we'll talk about Hiiragi as well. But so, of course, I feel bad for Mafu because Mafu, is getting, him and Uenoyama got so close in the last, movie and OVA that now there's this little bit of a divide where Ueniyama is getting kind of brought over here to Hiiragi and Shizu to be with their band. And meanwhile, everybody's doing all these things. There's a lot of changes going on. So, of course, anytime there's changes like that, there's going to be anxiety that comes with it. That's just the nature of the game. So you can kind of understand why Mafia would feel kind of like, I need to sort myself out. I haven't sang in so long. I'm losing track of where the music is. I need to get my inspiration back. And I don't want to commit to a debut and let people down. Like Mafia's like, I just got confident enough to be in this band for the competition. I don't want to commit and then not be inspired or have a burnout session or, hit a wall and then let everyone down. And he's like, that's the last thing I want to do, because I wouldn't want to have done that with, you almost wonder, they talked about this previously in the series, that Yuki kind of left Mafia out because maybe he didn't think Mafia wanted to be involved. But Ueniyama instead, incorporates Mafia in, and that's a very big difference in their relationship. And so I feel like since Mafia has been brought in, there's an added pressure to that, right? So he wants to make sure that he's in 120%. And the funny thing is, Shizu gets that. Shizu's like, no, this is just how Mafia is. So, I love that Shizusumi is like, this is how Mafia is. He's going to be fine. He'll make a decision. You just got to give him time. Back off and let him breathe. Shizu's like a damn therapist. He just knows what to do, right? I love it. I love that he's just like, yeah, everything was great. I love the idea of opposites attract. And Ueniyama is so fiery and passionate, and then Mafia is so calm and cool like water. And then you have Hiiragi, who's like dazzling like the sun and sparking, and then you have Shizu, who's calm like the moon. Like, they just balance each other out so well. It's actually great. But man, I just love the banter and dynamic between Hiiragi and Ueniyama. It's so wonderful. And then, Ueniyama and Hiiragi are both just like, we just don't get along. And we're just, and they're so self-righteous and full of themselves. And meanwhile, Shizumi and Mafia are both like, yeah, they're pretty much the same person. Which is funny, because Ueniyama is different from Hiiragi, but they do have a similar, passion. And they're so passionate. And a lot of times, I've watched RuPaul's Drag Race enough, y'all, that I know group challenges. That in that series, whenever you have a group challenge and there's a group with 3 queens that are all super passionate, super high energy, super outgoing and extroverted, that seems like a recipe for success, right? Sometimes, strategically, that's not a recipe for success, because you have these 3 vibrant presences who just bounce off the walls, and they bounce and ricochet off each other, and they can't get cohesive. Meanwhile, you have Mafia, who's super laid back and is like, sure, as long as I'm into it, I'll go with it. And then you have Shizu, who's like, I'll do whatever you want to. And they just kind of balance out and are able to create that compatibility. So it's funny to see Mafia and Shizu both being like, yeah, we get it. Mm-hmm. And I get why Mafia would feel kind of a little bit uneasy about Ueniyama working with Hiiragi, because Ueniyama can't give Mafia, he can't give him the whole full answer. He's jealous of Hiiragi. What I like about it is they do these comparisons and contrasting in this series. You have Hiiragi, who idolized Yuki, but kind of wanted to be like Yuki. He's like, everyone around Yuki was gravitating towards him, and he was so effortlessly cool. And he's like, I want what Yuki has. I want that confidence. I want that coolness. I want all of that. And then what Hiiragi realizes by the end of this movie is, wait, I have that. Shizu's right here. I do have that stage presence. I am there. I'm doing what Yuki's doing. I just didn't realize it, right? And then you have Ueniyama, who, also is kind of like this big vibrant personality as well. And he wants to not only help Hiiragi, because what's interesting is Hiiragi idolized Yuki, but Ueniyama does not idolize Hiiragi. Ueniyama is jealous of Hiiragi. He wants, both Hiiragi and Ueniyama want what the other person has, but Yuki was just so enamored and idolizing and in awe of Yuki. And Ueniyama's not exactly idolizing Hiiragi, but he definitely is like, it sucks that you're this good and this charming and you make it look so easy. And he's like, I want to be able to effortlessly do that as well. Right? But I love the idea of him also wanting to support Mafiu. But Ueniyama is such a beautiful soul because this is a tall order. Like his sister says, you are essentially finishing the song of your lover's dead ex-boyfriend. And it's like, that takes a lot of guts to not only do that properly, but to also be like, you're essentially completing a love letter from Yuki to Mafiu. And now, Ueniyama's amazing. So he's probably like, yeah, I'm going to do that for him. And I'm like, but at the same time, that's a tall order. And like his sister says, she's like, I couldn't do that. I would have tore to shreds. But he wants something that is good for Mafiu. And so he wants to do this for him. I do feel like one of my big things about Mafiu and Ueniyama is as of this part of the manga, they've not really talked about Yuki. And I can get why Ueniyama would not want to talk about Yuki. One, it's a very sensitive subject. It's not really Ueniyama's business. And plus, he doesn't want to make Mafiu feel bad or feel pressured or anything like that. But on the other end, you're dating Mafiu. And it's the elephant in the room. You both know about it. So it is crazy that Mafiu's not talked to him about it and he's not asked, but you get why, because it's such an awkward and tender subject. You know, the moment it gets brought up, it's going to lead to a very awkward and uncomfortable time. So, and you're in the middle of trying to get your band to debut and do all of these things. So the time just hasn't come to talk about it, but it takes a lot of guts for Ueniyama to decide, I'm going to finish the song of Yuki for Mafiu. But the thing is, Ueniyama loves Mafiu. And so, of course, he'd want to do this for him. Like, of course, it would mean something for him, right? It's just, so good. Also, Hiragi's voice actor, amazing. So good. Like, the two songs that were in this movie were really, really good. I love both of them. His voice is so infectious. It's so cheerful, and it's so like it's full of light and vibrance, and you instantly like just feel like jamming along. Like, it's so good. And the drumming, Shizu's drumming, just I want to see Shizu and Akihiko do a drum off. Can we do that? I feel like this follows the manga pretty much straight through all the way. I feel like it follows straight through. There might be like little side moments, like whenever the sister and Haruki show up and they say that Taki-chan is off, doing overtime. In my mind, I feel like I remember them showing, like, in the manga, him what he was doing in overtime. But here, there's no need to show it. We've got to move on. It's just something a little extra. So I feel like little tiny tidbits were maybe left out of the movie, but for the most part, everything is there. It's all here. But yeah, so talking about the debut, and of course, to Ueniyama, this is a big deal. He's so innocent. He's like, this is our debut. This is such a big thing. He's like, I've wanted this for so long, and now we have the opportunity. And he's like, oh my gosh. And so he asks Hiiragi, do you ever worry about future plans? And this is where Ueniyama is a big thinker. Ueniyama is like a planner and a thinker and a obsess over it kind of person, like him in his bedroom doing the lyrics to the demo and everything. Like, once he gets in on something, he kind of like zones in. Whereas Hiiragi and Shizu are kind of a lot more go with the flow sort of thing. I can relate a lot to Hiiragi because Hiiragi doesn't like to rock the boat and change things too much, which we're both Tauruses, we're both born on the same day, can relate. But also Hiiragi, is like, we'll talk about him and Shizu when he was confused about what Shizu was thinking, but Hiragi's like, we'll just make it work. It's fine. We'll just power through. And Ueniyama is not like that. He's like, he needs to plan things out. He needs to think about it. He needs to ask like a second and third opinion to know, like, he's like, I'm excited about this. This is awesome. And he's like, but I want my friends to support me. And of course, Haruki and Akihiko do. But man, Ueniyama just turning him down. Ueniyama getting turned down by Mafiu. And the thing is, the way, because Hiragi's like, well, you probably asked in an annoying way. And he's like, no, I just said, I'm really excited about this. Let's do it. And Mafiu's like, nope. It's like, too soon. He just runs away like a baby deer. I love when Hiiragi just laughed at it. Like, just was laughing his ass off. It was great. So I don't remember like Shizu just being there under the covers, hanging out in the nurse's office. It's interesting that Shizu is kind of a delinquent. A little bit, like him skipping class and going and hanging out in the nurse's office until Hiiragi comes and gets him. I was like, You little delinquent. He's like if Ushijima from IQ was a bad boy. if Wakatoshi was a bad boy, that would be Shizusumi. Mm-hmm. And every time Shizu is on screen, there's just like this intimacy. Like he's only sharing it with Hiiragi in this moment. And it's just very sensual, right? But I love the two of them together. It's so good. And then Hiiragi being like, I wonder why Shizu's followed me all this time. And it's like, you really don't know? The moment when he was crying about not being able to get a hold of Mafiu, and Shizu's like, come over here, get in bed with me. You can sleep next to me. You don't have to go home. And I understand from Shizu's perspective, at this point, like, from Shizu's perspective, Hiiragi hasn't meant this, but it probably feels like Hiragi's been edging him this whole time. And Shizu's like, are we together or are we not together? Because it seems like we're together, but I don't blame Shizu for having the insecurities that he does. He's like, I want to know, did you love Yuki? Did you love him? You know, I followed you all this time and I've spent all this time idolizing you and following you around because I love you. Did you love someone else? What about your relationship with Mafiu? And with Hiiragi, him and Mafiu are like siblings, right? But I love that we get the confirmation where Hiragi's like, I didn't love Yuki romantically. I just aspired to be like him and have what he had without realizing that he kind of already had what he had, right? But I don't blame Shizu for wanting a clear-cut answer, being like, what is this relationship? Is this just friendship or what else could it be? Especially in a BL, especially in a series where you're in a relationship that's not considered a societal norm. You want to make sure, like, I'm investing this time and I love you. Do you love me back? And if you love me back, do you accept what all comes with that love? Because, yeah, I mean, Shizuzumi, he follows him around the entire time. Shizuzumi follows him everywhere. And then Hiiragi, like, gets in bed with him. He lays his head on his shoulder. He's always following him around. And he's like, I just want to know, like, are we going to be a thing? And what's so crazy is that he isn't certain with Hiiragi, and meanwhile Hiragi's like saying I love you 20 times to him, and you're like, you two are a bunch of bakas and you just need to get together. The scene at the restaurant is maybe my favorite, where he's like, oh well, you probably asked him in a very stupid way. He's like, he's like, I'm leaving. And then Shizu's like, hold on, it takes him forever to make up his mind, but once he does, then you'll be good. And that's when they talk about the demo and they give it to him. And again, I don't blame Shizu for being curious and wondering, like, is this demo, you know, are you just saying that you want to complete it? Because, and the way that Hiiragi describes it in the movie, it makes sense. He's just finding a way to grieve. That, you know, he's like, oh, I get where this would come across as I'm finishing this love song because I loved Yuki, but that's not it. He's like, I just want to grieve my friend's loss. I lost my friend. I loved them as a friend. And I want to grieve them properly. And, like, I know he's Mafiu's ex-boyfriend, so there's that dimension of it too. And I love how this series just presents everyone's insecurities so openly and honestly, and does it in a way that's not contrived. And the way that they do it doesn't ever feel like... It doesn't feel like the insecurities and stuff are being dramatic for the sake of being dramatic. They're all very intricately tied to their characters, and the characters handle their drama in very real ways for them that we, the audience, can immediately grapple onto. And so I love it. I also love the way that they depict when Yuki starts singing, like the way that time stops and the way that the color changes in the scene and all of that. It's so awful, like, what Yuki did. It's like, ugh, I hate it. And then, of course, Shizu-chan, can you meet me right now? And he's like, okay, I'm gonna go. I love how when Shizu left, he, like, looked over at Hiiragi, and Hiragi's like, you're just leaving me? And he just pats his head like, it's okay, I still like you. I just have to go. Like, don't be mad at me. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And then he goes and talks to Mafiu. I do also like that they don't do an indirect kiss, because I couldn't remember if they did or not. And I was like, oh, he gave Mafiu that bottle. Is he going to take it back? He gives it to Mafiu, because Shizu is not about to have an indirect kiss with anybody but Hiiragi. And so Mafiu admits, I love the lighting of the scene with him and Shizazumi. Mafiu admits that he's not really thought about the future. And you get that, right? Not everybody is planning ahead 6 months in advance like I usually do. Not everybody's like that. Some people are like, I don't plan that far in advance. I don't know. And in the backdrop of all this, Haruki has brought up the fact that Haruki's graduating from grad school. Akihiko is graduating from undergrad. Both of them are probably done with school, so they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do. Akihiko, I think, is living off some of his parents' funds that he's got, but he's doing music as a way to go pro. He's devoting himself to it. Haruki is probably going to be doing something, maybe with design, but he's going to find a way to make a living as well with their band. Mafiu and Ueneyama are graduating high school, so they're going to figure out, are they going to a university? Are they going to get jobs in Skip Uni? What are they going to do? What does that lead to? Like, will the band be able to work with that? And they don't have to go to college. I feel like in Daokyusei, one of the people in the couples, he goes to college because his degree requires it, but the other guy is just making music, so he doesn't go to college. He just has like a job working at a restaurant and makes music. So you don't have to go to college to do that. So it's going to be curious to see what the two of them end up doing. But I don't blame Mafiu for being like, all these things are happening at once. And there's a lot of change happening, and Mafiu doesn't deal good with change. So obviously he's worried about it. And so he asks Shizu, he's like, well, when did you decide you're going to go pro? And he's like, well, basically when Hiiragi told me we were. And I can relate, because Hiiragi being like, we're going to go pro. And he's like, okay. I'm like, I'm going to be a teacher. And it's like, okay. I relate to Hiiragi. But he's like, I'm going along with anything Hiiragi says he wants to do. And Mafiu's like, is it because you like Hiiragi? And I like that Shizu kind of looks at him, takes the bottle before he gives it back, and he says, you're scared, aren't you? Like, Shizu is so direct. And I love that about his character. He doesn't beat around the bush. He doesn't play sneaky games. He's just like, here's how it is. You take it or you leave it. And it's like, whoa. And some people can't deal with that, but I respect it. Because he's like, you're scared that things will fall apart with you and Ueneyama, like it did with you and Yuki. You're terrified of history repeating itself. And he's like, I'm not like you, and I'm not like Yuki. And then he gives him the bottle back. And he shows the flashback of him looking at the two of them. He's like, I'm sure that you wouldn't understand since you guys fell into each other's laps and have always been together. But he's like, I don't have options. I don't have time to be unsure when it comes to what I want. And I don't mind giving up my life for it. And that's interesting that he says that, because the way that Shizu talks, he's like, he's from a foster care system. So he's like, I don't have a family to fall back on. Like Ueneyama has his sister and his dad and their mom. He's like, I don't have a family to fall back on. I don't really have any options I'm considering. So this is it. Like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do because that's the option that I think I have, and I can't think of anything else. And he's like, it must be nice being you. That was such like it was kind of like a twisted comment for a second, because in one hand, he's like, you've had a lot of options. You've had Yuki, you've got Hiiragi supporting you, you've got your family, you've got Ueneyama. And it's like, ooh, like he's like, I don't have these options. So I'm doing what I'm doing because this is all I know to do. But you have some choice. I was like, oh shit. Like, not beating around the bush. And then that's when Mafiu says, well, if you like Hiiragi, why don't you do anything about it? And he's like, well, pot calling the kettle black. And that's when he's like, well, you know, he probably liked Yuki just a little bit. And that's when Shizu reveals his insecurity. That he's like, I'm not moving forward with Hiiragi because I don't know if it's my place to. He's like, I don't want to step on those feelings. He's like, you all adore Yuki, and it pisses me off. I feel like Shizu and Mafiu kind of relate to each other a lot, because Mafiu feels like he's being left out of the group, and Shizu felt like he was being left out. So when Mafiu doesn't go eat dinner with them, it makes sense that he's like, no, I get it. He's like, because I felt the same way. But he gives Mafiu this ultimatum. He's like, look, when it comes to your band, or Ueneyama at least, if you don't have the resolve or attachment to live your life with him, if you don't think this is going to work out, then you need to leave. He's like, you don't need to lead him on. And I respect Shizu for saying that, because he's like, look, if you have a problem with this, you can go. You don't have to stay in this relationship. or with that band if you think it's going to cause you that much anxiety. And plus, you don't want to lead Uenoyama on to feeling like he's going to be in love if it's not there. He's like, because Shizu loves Hiiragi so much, but he knows that there's a chance that Hiiragi is going to say that he doesn't love him back the same way. Even though we, the audience, know that Hiiragi does, and he ends up saying that. Shizu in this moment to Mafiyu is saying, look, I know full and well I love Hiiragi, but if Hiiragi tells me that he doesn't fully love me back the way that I expect him to, I'm going to be heartbroken. And so he's like, I don't want you to be heartbroken, Mafiyu, and I don't want you to break Uenoyama's heart. So, I mean, it's good advice, but poor Mafiyu, he's just like, And then that line where he talks about Hiiragi being like, he's so talented, honest, and fragile. I want to taint him. It sounds so brutal when he says it that way, but it's so sad because Shizu views himself as filthy, and he's like, I want to be on the same level as him. So I want to bring him down to my level just a little bit. You could also interpret taint him in different ways as well, right? But I will talk more about that scene later. So one thing I really love is I remember from the manga that Akihiko had this studio apartment that was in the noisiest part of town, but he got it cheap, and he got it because it was perfect for him to practice playing the drums and the violin, because the noise no one would notice, which is hilarious. Now, granted, his apartment is really small. Inside, there's like a kitchen and a bed. It's a pretty small studio apartment. And Haruki's like, okay, it is what it is. But Akihiko, I love that Akihiko went from this giant basement apartment with Ugetsu to being in this tiny little studio apartment. You can see the coffee mug up on the shelf as well. But he went from being in that giant studio to this little one that's just perfect from him. And then we get the call back to the fireworks and then them being able to see them together. Akihiko is so sensual, though. I love it. I love that he's just... Here's something, too. We were talking about this in the Discord, Wushin, Sweebian, and I were. Uenoyama looks up to Akihiko a lot. Like, draws a lot of influence from him. But as of the manga, where it's at now, and as of this movie, where it's at now, Uenoyama is pretty timid when it comes to, like, making a move and putting the moves on Mafiyu. He's very timid for reasons. But there's a little part of me that's like, I don't want him to take everything from Akihiko because Akihiko's done some dumb things. But one thing I wish Uenoyama would take from Akihiko is being a little bit more, like, direct. Like, let's get down to business if you're cool with that, Mafiyu. And I guess we'll see if that ends up happening or not. But, I mean, Uenoyama kind of devotes himself full on into something, which is great. But yeah, all of Shizu's insecurities. I love them talking about impersonating the painter and having to know and restore. I love the idea of restoring the paintings rather than painting over it. I love that. And Uenoyama's so freaking nice. He's just going to be able to, like, he's going to restore that moment of love to give. And Uenoyama's so wonderful because what he's trying to do for Mafiyu, in a sense, is give him closure. To give both Hiiragi wants closure to be able to grieve. And then it's also going to give Mafiyu closure because he never got that, like, end conversation with Yuki. And this song will be able to be that end conversation for him. That he'll be able to listen to it and be like, and know, you know, Yuki's feelings through that song. Oh, I love it. I also like the idea that Uenoyama was wondering, he's like, I imagined someone delicate, more like Mafiyu out of Yuki. And so he's like, no, this guy isn't like Yuki. This isn't like Mafiyu at all. So I wonder, because he seems himself a little bit timid like Mafiyu at times, if he's wondering if he's Mafiyu's type or not. And I'm like, Uenoyama, really? I do like seeing Mafiyu be direct, though. Like when he tries to get Mafiyu up and he gets all pouty. I want Mafiyu to be more pouty. I want him to be more direct. I want him to take charge. If Uenoyama ain't going to do it, Mafiyu, you got to take charge. Be a power bottom. You can do it. We believe in you. But anyway, so the band is busy. with Hiiragi and Shizu and Ueniyama, and they can't meet to talk about the debut yet. I'm assuming they're going to wait till the next. Again, it's been a while since I've read the manga, and I've intentionally held back so that a lot of these moments in the movies can be surprises again. And this was a great decision because there were lots of great surprises this go around. But I have a feeling that they're going to meet up to talk about the demo all together in the next movie for sure. But yeah, I like that Ueniyama is just like, damn it, Hiiragi and Shizu are so good. I hate how effortless they are. And then they see Mafiu and try to invite him out to dinner and he won't go. Which Shizu, again, because he knows Mafiu, he knows he's very shy and timid. He knows that you can't poke the baby deer or run away. So they just let it go. Right? And he's like, things are all sudden falling on me. Ueniyama, the band. And he's like, and it feels like I'm being left behind. And that's so relatable because, sometimes life can get overwhelming. And when there's big changes happening around you, it can feel overwhelming. So I totally get where Mafiu's coming from. I like that Akihiko, they show us like his facial hair growing out, like he hadn't shaved it again. He was starting to let it grow out, which is kind of fun. But then I love that Mafiu's like, wow, I was warned, but this is really bad. How bad his apartment is. And Akihiko's like, shut up. That part was really... Mafiu is brutal when he wants to be. And so then he asks about, like, the debut. And then, again, Akihiko is super direct. And he's like, well, what do you think? And Mafiu being put on the spot, he can't go anywhere. He's like, I thought I was just playing music because it was fun. But the option of going pro... I can't run away if things get bad. I can't go hide. I'm going to have to face it head on, and that's scary. And Akihiko's like, well, I'm sure that Hiiragi and Ueniyama aren't scared because they're very, like, passionate, extroverts who, are... I like that he describes them as the light because they, like, think of the positive and soak up all the good. And he's like, you're more like the darkness. You kind of sit there and stew on all the possibilities that could go wrong. And I think some of that's just from Mafiu's experience, right? And he's like, I get that you might not want to see Ueniyama supporting some other guy, but... And Mafiu's like, well, he's like, that's not really it so much as I just don't want to be left behind. But then he stays and listens to the violin music. So yeah. And that's when they're eating dinner that Shizu and Hiiragi realize that Ueniyama doesn't know everything about Yuki. That he hasn't really known too much. And then I like that Shizu in this entire series, like, talks to everyone. Shizu talks to Mafiu, he talks to Ueniyama, he talks to Hiiragi, all of this. So, okay. In terms of the relationship between Hiiragi and Shizu, I feel a couple things. We'll talk about the Akihiko and Haruki scene in a second, but I feel like the relationship with Hiiragi and Shizu in this anime is handled so well. I love it. I love it so much. And we'll talk about it here in a second, but whenever Mafiu goes to ask Akihiko and Haruki for assistance, look, that scene, Akihiko's voice... And him and Haruki, so good. Akihiko being freaking ripped and looking so good with his torso out and everything. That was great, but I'm going to be honest. That scene, I do like a little bit more in the manga. If you haven't read the manga, you should go... It's so short. It's so short, just like it is in this movie. But the illustrations are so good. Like, Kizu just does such a good job of showing just a little tease. Just enough to make you go, and then giving you... She's not gratuitous. She's like, oh no, you're not going to see everything, but I'm going to give you just enough you can fill in the blanks. And you're like, so I do like how it was handled in the movie, but I do like the Akihiko and Haruki scene a little bit more in the manga, just from the perspective that it's drawn in. But I love, and again, this could be how it's handled, not on a chapter to chapter basis, but because it's all animated in one fluid motion. I love from like the 45-minute mark on, the confrontation with Shizu and Hiiragi. It's so good. Because finally Shizu comes out and he's like, did you like Yuki? And have you thought about if you liked Yuki? Because you probably need to. I need to know. And the worst part is that Hiragi's like, where's this coming from? And Shizu's like, I'm laying it all out on the table. Here's what I've been stewing on the past 5 years and more. And then he's like, where did this come out of? He's like, I like you. And then Shizu is like, look, if you like me and you're not just saying it, he's like, then you have to prove it. He's like, because you follow me around, you're teasing me, I'm getting these ideas in my head that you like me, but he's like, if you like me, how far are we going to go with this? Because Shizu's like, I'm not like Mafiu and Uenoyama. I'm not going to be satisfied with just little kisses behind curtains and that's it. And I appreciate Shizu is honest. He's like, I want more. He's like, if you're going to be with me, then I'm going to want a sexual relationship. And do you actually like me or are we just friends? And Hiragi's like, and I'm kind of with Hiiragi. I'm like, I would need a moment to sit down and think and be like, well, wait, actually, what are we doing? And Shizu kind of smiles there and he's like, do you actually want to do something with me? And Hiragi's like, well, I never said that. He's like, I just wanted to take it step by step, like holding hands at first. And I totally get that. I would be the same way. I'd be like, I couldn't immediately do a sexual relationship. I'm just not me. And that's just not how I am. But with Hiiragi, he's like, I thought we just hold hands at first. But I can kind of get where Shizu's coming from because they've been together for years, since grade school. So it's like, at some point, are you going to go to the next level? And I honestly really like that I was talking with Wushin Suibian, or looking at their conversation afterwards, where he goes to kiss him, and Hiiragi was like, because I thought the same thing. I went back and Wushin Suibian in the Discord left me like a message being like, okay, when you're done with the movie, come watch this. And I'm going to respond to them after I'm done recording this. But I went ahead and read it before I got to this discussion. But when Shizu goes to kiss Hiiragi like all tenses up and everything. And it's not because Hiiragi doesn't want to kiss Shizumi. It's just because he's so nervous. And he's like, this is his first time. And he's like, oh my gosh, right now, here, being a dramatic diva, as one would be. And Shizu takes it as, you're not ready, but I'm going to be honest with you about what I want out of this relationship. Like Shizu respects his boundaries and doesn't kiss him. He doesn't force it, which is great. But from that moment, he says, okay. And instead he comes up to him. And at first, I thought he was going to kiss his forehead. And Wushin Suibian had wondered if this moment was in the manga. It is. It's just a lot more brief and not as explained as it is in the movie. But in the movie, it's done really, really well. Where he goes up there and he basically presses his knee he presses Hiragi's knee up against his crotch and says, when you say you like someone, it's going to involve someone putting this in. You wouldn't be able to do this stuff with me, would you? And he's like, are you going to be able to do this? If you're going to respect our boundaries, so will I. So he's like, what do you want to do? You can decide. And Hiragi's like, I don't know what to do. He's like, I've got to think about it. He's like, brains in overload. And he's like, I got to think about this. And that's when he gets home and he's thinking about it. He's like, is Shizu mad at me? And he's like, has he always been like this? It's like, yeah, he's been waiting for you to make a move and you keep on just edging it just to the end. And Shizu's like, nope, we're graduating high school. We're moving forward. I need to know, are you going to be okay with this type of relationship? Because I appreciate Shizu's honesty. He's like, I want to have sex with you and I'm going to be the top. He's like, I'm going to be the top in this relationship and I want to have sex with you. But if that's going to happen, you've got to be on board and you've got to want it too. I think this movie does a much better job, in my opinion, than the manga alone at expressing that consent, especially in the love scene, which we'll get to in a second. But I feel like Shizu is so direct and is like, look, you need to tell me, do you want this or not? And I will respect it either way, but I got to know. And Hiiragi, that makes him think has he always been like this? And then he's like, am I really finishing this song just to have Mafiu listen to it? Or am I really sad because Yuki's gone and trying to find closure and grieve myself? And I like that Hiragi's like, he was someone special to me, but I didn't want to end up with him. He was just my friend. And that's what I love about this series is that he's like, Yuki was a sanctuary for me. Like, for Hiiragi, Yuki was a safe space. He's like, because Yuki was so open about his sexuality. He was so open about his love of music, about his love of Mafiu, about his friends. Like, Yuki was so emotionally open to everyone until he wasn't. And for Hiiragi, he's like, that being in this safe environment with friends where I can be myself. I don't have to like explain my sexuality. I don't have to do this. Like, I love this series because it doesn't just have every male character trying to get with every male character and each other. No, it's like, no, these are distinct relationships, but we gay guys can all be friends at the same time, and it's fine. And Shizu isn't necessarily like, there is a twinge of jealousy with Shizuzumi, but it's not jealousy as in like, well, if I can't have him, nobody else can have him. It's like, no, I still respect you and love you. I just want to know where you're at. So are we on the same page or not? I'm like, communication! It's beautiful and brilliant! We should have more of it in these BL! But yeah, Hiiragi has to come to terms with what he wants. And then, of course, we get Ueniyama going over to visit Haruki and do that whole scene and invites him to go see the band. And then they're like, are you going to get Mafiu to join? And he's like, I don't know. I love that scene where we do the aftermath. Again, leaving a lot to your imagination, but there's naked Akihiko in the bed. But Haruki, you're a lucky guy. Hiiragi's a lucky guy too, because Shizuzumi, oh my god. I want to go back to that text message where, what does he say there? Because he looks at it the second time, and it's from Ueniyama being like, I'm going to revise it. And he's like, I'm sending the revised version. Like, literally the next day. But at this point, Hiiragi realizes when he talks about the guardrails and about Shizu always being there for him, whenever Shizu takes his hand off the guardrail, it's like he's imagined Yuki on the stage helping Mafiu up and then dancing around with Mafiu. I wish my only regret of this entire movie is I wish they'd animated Yuki and Mafiu dancing. I wish they'd animated them dancing on the stage. That's my only tick I would change about this film, is having them actually dance. That's it. And maybe having some more Strawberry Swing stuff brought into this, but that's just me. But otherwise, it's like, mwah, brilliant. But the moment where Shizu grabs his hand and he's like, oh, wait, Shizu's always been here. He's always been the one. I've looked at him and he's been like the object of my affection, just like Mafiu was for Yuki. And he's like, I just figured out something. The way that Ueniyama and Yuki would look at Mafiu. They just liked him plain and simple. And he's like, I've had that with Shizu this entire time. And I've liked Shizu in the same way. And I'm not showing it like they showed to Mafiu. So I love him getting his hair all ready to go, getting all set up, she has a key to Shizu's room. And I like that Shizu's like, what are we going to be doing? And do you understand what your actions imply? I love this moment. In the manga, it kind of gave off a bit more of an ominous vibe. And I'll be honest, in the manga, it gives off a more ominous vibe. And there's like a brief moment of questioning the consent. A brief moment. That's not here. Here, no. Here, the moment that Shizu turns around, he's like, do you know what you're doing? You're sitting on me. Do you know what your actions mean to me? And Hiragi's like, yes. He's like, I know what I'm doing here. He's like, I love you. And he's like, I want you to smile like you did when I gave you that gold foil. He's like, after that, I wanted his eyes to only see me. And then and I love that he just holds out his arms and Shizu's like, what? And then Mafiu hugging it, or not Mafiu, Hiiragi hugging him and saying from the very beginning, when you made me a god over that single sheet of gold origami paper. And I love Hiiragi going in for the kiss, like him initiating it. This superiority complex from feeling needed. I wanted to fill those holes. I'm like, I bet you did. You're not going to be filling very many holes, though. It's going to be the opposite way around. But I love Hiiragi initiating it and him being like, you asked me a question. Do I like you? Am I ready to move on to the next step? My answer is yes. And here's me saying, yes, I am. And Shizu, and he's like, I want to belong to him. And then again, it's one thing for a character to have a monologue where he's like, this is what I want. It's another thing for the character to tell the person what they want. And then Hiragi's like, tell me that you want me. He's like, I want you to reciprocate this. He's like, and I'm going to give myself to you. And Shizu's like, I've been holding this in for a long time. Are you sure, sir, about what you're asking? Because that you're asking a lot. He's like, I don't know if you know how passionate I am and how much I've been holding inside. You're okay with this. Are you sure you're okay with this? And Hiragi's like, nope, yep, I am. He's like, do you really? He's like, you're the one who doesn't get it. He's like, do you know what you're asking? He's like, and then when Hiiragi says, stop holding back on what you want by acting cool and stop saying things to push me away. And Shizu is like, no, you don't get it. And I was like, oh shit. Shizu's like, no, you don't understand. I am gonna rock your world. Are you ready for that? And I'm like, huh? Like, I just love that they talk it out. And Shizu is like, I want to make sure you are okay. Do you understand what it means to tell someone walking through a desert, sure, you can lick up a bit of my water? And I'm like, oh. And Hiragi's like, lick it all up. And I'm like, oh, honey, the floodgates are open. And then when Shizu says, do you understand what I'm going to do to you? And he's like, I know what's going to happen. And I'm like, And then Shizu says, do you want to stop? And he's like, shut up. No, I don't want to stop. Stop asking me over and over again. But I'm like, that consent is so important. And I think that's what makes their relationship like, and I feel like they made it a little bit more maybe in the movie, a little bit more direct, where once you see it animated, you're like, no, there is consent. He is clearly saying, do you want this? And Hiragi's like, yep, I want it. It's like, okay. And he's like, well, then and then he says he's scared. And he's like, what is this? And he's like, well, this is what you wanted to. This is what you wanted. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Shizu is such the man. I'm like, oh, and him smiling, you can see him with the smile on his face. Like, this is all he wanted, was to be able to be with Hiiragi like this. Oh, that smile. It looks predatory. It looks predatory, and it's terrifying. But yeah, he's got the biggest grin on his face. What is going on with my emotions? But yeah, it clearly, like, when you look back at Hiiragi, he's like all into it. He was showing his teeth back then too. And then we see the aftermath. I just love Shizu. He like goes from being this feral, like, jackal in the bed, and the next day he's just like a little white knight. I'm like, oh my God. He is silent in the streets and straight up chainsaw in the sheets. He's like, and then I love Shizu saying he let me do everything, even things I felt a little bad about. And he has his shirt back on at that point. So at that point, they put the shirt back on. But I love these, like, this is the best. Oh. And then he says, I love you. And then I love that he says, I love you. And he's like, what is his ultimatum there? He tells him, he's like, what time is it? And he's like, oh, by the way, I love you. And he's like, Hiiragi, I love it. And then he says, let me stay by your side until I die. And Hiragi's like, you are dramatic, sir. What a diva! So dramatic. Shizu is like ride or die. That literally is him. So then they go and do the shoot. I like that Oniyama's like, you seem different. You're got a different tune in your step, a little different sunshine coming out. And Hiragi's like, shut up. I love the music video. The music video, the graphics, I love the vines and stuff, the overlaying of the rain. It all looks really, really good. I loved it. It was really great. The CGI, it looks good. It's a little noticeable, but it's really good. And I love the light shining over Hiiragi. It's just, and his voice is beautiful. I love it. Both of the songs were great. And then, yeah, Shizu's just standing there and he's like, yes, I love Hiiragi. And I'm going to keep following him. And Oniyama was like, that was so direct and up front. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, you guys are pros. And he's like, aren't you worried about, like, what happens if you guys, it's just the two of you. So what happens if you get in a fight or break up? And He's like, I'm not worried about it. He's like, what if your sound changes and things get in the way? And I like that Shizu turns around and he says, you know what? I'm not like you guys. He's like, I like music and I take it seriously. I'm doing this for Hiiragi. So as long as Hiragi's happy, I'm fine. And he's like, I'm more serious than you about it. So he's like, this is all I got. There's nothing else. He's like, there'll be no change or hesitation in my music. And I'll sacrifice myself for Hiiragi if I have to. I can't be like you or Mafiu. But I've never felt suffering like you guys have, so that's my strength. That just look where he's like, I haven't really been through the shit that you all have, so I guess it balances out. And Wayne was like, insane. So yeah. And then Mafiu, of course, we end the movie with him wondering, like, I can't hear the music anymore. He's like, from the moment I've met Ueneyama, I've felt it. But now he's like, I've forgotten, like, what it's like to make that music, what it's like to sing. He's like, I've forgotten what my purpose is, what's driving me. Poor Mafiu is lost, right? Poor Mafiu is lost. And he just wants to get back to some semblance of stability. And I guess we'll have to wait till the next movie to find out what happens. But there is a sequel manga, and I have read the first 2 chapters of it. There's a reaction on this channel if you want to go find it in the Given playlist. It's there. I'm currently waiting for chapter 4 of the manga to get translated into English, and once it is, I'm going to hopefully do chapters 3, 3.5, and 4 of the sequel manga together. Hopefully in January or February that will be able to come out. That'd be great. And in the meantime, we'll wait till hopefully this summer where we can see the follow-up, and maybe it won't be 2 years before we have to wait for another movie. But oh my gosh, I can't wait to go back and rewatch this. This was amazing. I will watch it in the English dub too when it comes out. So, this was amazing. I love it so much. I can't wait to hear your comments below about it, but I'm so gushing and it's just absolutely wonderful. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back hopefully very soon with more Given reactions. Bye.